world is dying and we're no longer at the top of the food chain, but it might not be zombies that take us out. As much as we like to imagine going down fighting with guns blazing in a heroic last stand, reality is most of us wouldn't even make it to the zombie part. We'd likely get taken out by the boring stuff instead. So today we're breaking down 10 very real reasons you won't survive the zombie apocalypse. Number 1, you've never lived without infrastructure. Most people have never gone more than a few days without running water, electricity, refrigeration, grocery stores, or gas stations. You flip a switch and the light comes on. You turn a tap and clean water appears. You drive a few minutes and shelves are stocked with food flown in from another country. It's amazing, really. But all that depends on trucks moving, power grids functioning, workers showing up, and systems coordinating in the background. The moment supply chains take a dump, daily life begins to unravel. The water pressure starts to drop since treatment facilities are no longer operating. Toilets stop flushing once pumping stations fail, refrigerated food starts to spoil once the grid goes down, and fuel becomes scarce as deliveries halt and panic buying empties tanks. People imagine zombies as the first wave of danger. Realistically, the first wave is dehydration, starvation, unmanaged medical conditions, heat stroke, hyperthermia, and basic infections. Anyone reliant on medication like insulin, heart drugs, psychiatric prescriptions, all become vulnerable immediately. And if you need glasses to see clearly, this includes you too. If your prescription is strong and you crack those lenses while running, or they fall off during a struggle and get stepped on, you're suddenly half blind in a world that demands you to see it to survive. There's no ordering a backup pair online, and you're not walking into a lens crafters during the apocalypse. I mean, you can, but you're not going to get your glasses. I mean, I guess you could maybe get lucky if you find a zombie that has the same prescription glasses as you, but that seems unlikely. Not impossible, but statistically the odds are low. Anyway, the point is, if you rely on corrective lenses and you lose them, your survivability drops instantly. Coming in at number 2, you are not conditioned for sustained movement. And this isn't about how much you can bench press, squat, or deadlift. It's about your endurance. Can you walk 12 miles carrying 35 pounds while scanning your surroundings the entire time? Can you climb fences repeatedly without twisting an ankle with all this stuff on your back? Can you sleep on concrete and function the next morning with only 3 hours of rest? During a collapse, movement is constant. You relocate, you search for supplies, you avoid crowds, you retreat from danger. Every action costs energy. And fatigue will compound and affect your ability to make decisions, which will eventually lead to errors. When you're tired or misjudging distances, you trip easily, you forget small details that keep you alive. Even slow zombies become lethal once your body begins breaking down. People like to knock slow zombies and say they're easy to deal with, but that isn't entirely true when your body and mind are absolutely run down. Most people have never tested their physical limits, let alone outside of controlled environments. Survival demands sustained output without recovery days, without protein shakes, and without consistent sleep. Due to all that, your body will decline a lot faster than people realize. At number 3, we have your ability to fight under pressure. Even with a weapon, you won't automatically be effective with it under pressure. Swinging a bat when your adrenaline is pumping is a different experience than swinging it at a static object. Reality is, adrenaline reduces fine motor control. Your hands will be shaking, and your vision will narrow. Once auditory exclusion sets in, you may not even hear what's happening around you. You'll be so locked in that one of these easy-to-deal-with slow walkers will come up behind you and take a bite out of your shoulder. If you've never trained while exhausted, while your heart is elevated, while someone is actively moving towards you, your first encounter will be chaotic. How many people in here have combat sports experience, something like kickboxing, MMA, or boxing? If you do, then you know something important. Fighting when you're fresh is one thing, but fighting when adrenaline is pumping, when you're gassed, when your forearms are burning, when your legs feel heavy and your breathing is ragged, and when lactic acid is flooding your muscles is an entirely different story. Your timing starts to slip, your guard starts to drop, you start making small mistakes, and in a life or death situation, that can get you killed. Fortunately though, people with combat experience will have better composure. Now picture that situation, except your opponent does not feel pain the same way you do. They don't get tired the same way you do. And they don't stop advancing until you destroy their brains. This is why I suggest combat sports to almost everyone, at least for 6 months to a year. If you've never faced physical adversity like that, the adrenaline dump alone can wreck you. You can condition yourself to operate through it, but that can only be done through exposure, and learning to deal with it in a life or death situation isn't the best place to do it. So go enroll yourself in some sort of class. Kickboxing, MMA, boxing, judo, jiu-jitsu, anything. Go get some experience. Alright, next up at number 4, hesitation and denial will get you killed. The first time you see someone you know behaving in a way that violates everything you understand about human behavior, your brain will resist it. And denial is a powerful thing. You'll start performing mental gymnastics just to make sense of it. You'll think maybe they're just sick, confused, or that you can calm them down and snap them out of it, despite the news telling you otherwise. During a zombie outbreak, survival rewards those who adapt the quickest. So accepting that someone you used to love or know isn't inside of that body anymore requires brutal clarity. Most people won't shift to that state of mind right away, and it will cost them dearly. Coming in at number 5, you'll head to the woods and realize you don't actually know what you're doing. That's right, most people when asked what they'll do during a collapse would reply with, "I'd head to the woods." And that's fair, I get it. Instinct is to flee to nature. The woods feel isolated and rural land feels safer than cities and small towns. The problem is that most people have a romantic idea about wilderness survival. Unfortunately, watching a show about bushcraft is not the same as practicing for an extended period of time. You can't play wilderness survival just because you watched a few TV shows or YouTube videos. Ask yourself, do you know how to purify water without store-bought filters? If you have them, great. If not, you'll have to know how to do this. Can you identify edible plants in your region? The last thing you want to do is eat some berries and get taken out due to death by explosive diarrhea. That'd be a real shitty way to go. Anyways, can you build a shelter that withstands rain and wind? Can you start a fire in wet conditions without modern lighters? And keep in mind that wildlife won't give you a break just because society collapsed. Yogi Bear is not your friend. He's a 600-pound predator built to break bone and tear flesh, and if he decides he wants you to be his next meal, you can't do anything to stop him. He'll grab you, bite, and pin you under his weight, and begin eating you while you're still alive, still conscious, and still trying to understand what's happening. It's a slow, painful death where you get dragged, crushed, and consumed while your body is very much alive. And that is a fact. Nature's brutal. And to make matters worse, temperature will drop at night, causing you to freeze your butt cheeks off, and insects will still carry diseases. In other words, just because your world stopped, it doesn't mean nature's world stopped. It'll still punish you all the same. Alright, number 6, you'll assume cooperation will hold. During stable times, social rules are enforced by law and shared expectations. Remove those structures and how people act falls apart. Scarcity alters priorities. People protect their immediate family first. Groups argue over food allocation, guard rotations, and leadership decisions. Someone may hoard supplies, or someone may panic and make noise at the wrong time. A pivotal member of the group might jump ship once shit hits the fan, if we're being honest. Social breakdown can occur long before major zombie contact. Internal conflict can and will tear a group apart. During a zombie apocalypse, you're not just surviving the undead, you're also navigating shifting loyalties. And if the wrong person turns their back on you, that could lead to very dire circumstances. Alright, number 7. You've never faced extreme moral trade-offs. For example, leaving someone behind where they can't keep up, refusing aid to strangers at your door, or sharing food vital to your own family's survival. Pre-collapse, most people believe they know what they do. But reality is, that belief has never been tested under irreversible consequences. Moral conflict slows decision-making. You second-guess yourself. You look for alternatives that may or may not exist. And the weight of those bad decisions also lingers. And that lingering weight does not just disappear after the moment it passes. It follows you into the next decision, and the one after. That guilt can cloud your judgment, and resentment builds up inside of groups, which can create internal conflict. In a world where speed and clarity keep you alive, carrying unresolved moral strain can erode your ability to act when it matters the most. That psychological strain can be just as deadly as the zombies themselves, for some people at least. And at number 8, you are way louder than you think you are. Moving quietly under stress is a learned skill, not something people naturally know how to do. When you're tired, anxious, and carrying weight, everything you do gets louder. Your backpack shifts and rattles, boots crunch debris, and your breathing gets heavy without you realizing it. Even something as simple as adjusting your grip on a weapon can create a small, sharp sound that travels farther than you expected. In urban environments, sound funnels through hallways, stairwells, and tight corridors, turning a single dropped object into something that echoes down the entire block. In rural areas, open fields carry noise across surprising distances, especially when everything else is dead quiet. And most people have never practiced controlling their footsteps, managing their breathing, or communicating in low whispers while sneaking around. And they never tested how far their voice carries in cold air. And yes, their voice does actually carry further in cold air, due to a combination of atmospheric physics and reduced background noise.
Yeah, Mr. White! Yes, science!
It goes without being said, but sound attracts attention, and attention creates movement towards you, and that movement creates risk. In a collapse, you're not just fighting the zombies and other survivors, you're also fighting noise that can draw them to your position. Sometimes you might not realize how loud you are until something answers back. Coming in at number 9, you depend on fragile technology. It's almost impossible for us to live without it. Hell, even navigating without it can be quite difficult if you've never had to use an actual map before. I'm old enough to have done 10 to 15 hour drives and navigate with instructions written on a piece of paper, but even those instructions came from the internet. So I've also become quite reliant on technology. Things like GPSs and digital maps that plot our routes have become game changers in the modern day. Without them, navigation would feel chaotic for most people. Hell, I've even been told that I could get lost in a bush before, so this one would hit me pretty hard. As long as you still have power to your GPS devices, it would likely continue working in a post-collapse world though, because those satellites themselves would not just magically shut down overnight. The real problem is your device, your battery, and the electrical grid that keeps everything charged. Over time, satellites would drift without maintenance and start to degrade, and eventually failures would become imminent. But that wouldn't happen right away, like I said. The only scenario where GPS dies immediately is something extreme like a massive solar flare or a high-altitude EMP event disrupting large portions of infrastructure all at once. And if that happens at the same time as a zombie outbreak, then you're kinda shit out of luck. But yeah, once we no longer have access to our handy-dandy devices, we fall back to ancient tech like reading a physical map. The modern world has trained us to become highly reliant on technological devices, and once shit hits the fan, a lot of us will be in for a rough time, myself included. Coming in at number 10, your body will eventually fail you. And what I mean by that is that you're one untreated infection away from being done. Even if you do manage to stockpile antibiotics, learn a bit of field medicine, or try to tough it out, reality is a deep cut from broken glass while looting, a fall from a few stories up while climbing, or a cracked tooth that turned into an abscess can absolutely kill you. In normal life, these could be handled with a pharmacy visit or a doctor's appointment, but in a collapse, they're a countdown to your impending doom. In this new world, you don't get clean clinical conditions, and you don't get a second opinion when swelling starts spreading up your limbs. If you had a stockpile of antibiotics, they still expire, they degrade with heat, moisture, and time, and even if you had a decent supply, you better hope you identified the infection type, dosage, and duration, because partial treatments breed resistance, and resistance is something you can't outwork with grit. As for field medicine, it's extremely helpful, but stitching a wound properly without introducing more contamination is harder than YouTube makes it look. And without sterile tools and proper aftercare, you're walking on thin ice depending on the severity of your injury. And even if you manage to gather a bunch of supplies early, they are still finite. Items like bandages all get used up, disinfectants run low, painkillers run dry, boots wear through at the soles, clothing tears, food becomes harder to secure consistently, and when you're thrusted into a heavy caloric restriction due to the lack of food, your immune system will take a massive dump. That being said, survival in a zombie apocalypse isn't just about life or death confrontations with zombies. It's about hundreds of small physical problems compounding over time, like a blister becoming infected because you kept walking on it, sleep debt accumulating because you can't fully relax with all the dead around you, minor injuries building up because you never fully healed before you had to beat your body up again, and suddenly that small issue you had before is now systemic. Your joints would also be aching from the constant movement, your back strained under the weight of your backpack, reaction time slowing down as exhaustion creeps in, and you start compensating for injuries in ways that create new ones. Most people will not fall in a final stand against a swarm of the undead, and that's just a fact. They'll likely get taken out by something small that would have been routine to treat in a normal society, and the apocalypse does not need to do anything spectacular to eliminate you. It only needs time. Time for your body to slowly give up on you. Alright guys, if you made it to the end, I appreciate that as always. I personally kept playing Grand Mafia and made it even further. Don't forget to check free cash out by scanning the QR code or by checking the pinned comment or the link in the description. Thanks again guys. And YouTube thinks you'll like this video. If you've already seen it, I've got a playlist of a lot more just like it.